Hello everyone, we're back with the Falcons franchise. In today's episode, we're going to be doing an offseason and draft preview, talking about how we want to handle the offseason after having won the Super Bowl. Let's start by talking about the offense that was pretty good this last year. It was number one in terms of rushing yards per game, number two in points per game. We averaged 31.1 points per game. So those two things are great, but the pass offense, that needs some work. We were number 29 in terms of passing yards per game, so hopefully next year we can be a bit more balanced on offense. We do have a couple of guys we are going to look at trading this offseason. One of them is quarterback Daniel Barden. He is on his rookie contract, so we don't necessarily have to trade him, but if we do look to trade him, which we are going to at least look at it, I'm sure that we could get quite a few draft picks for him, or at least a high draft pick. Jake Matthews, he is not going to be back on the team next year. He's making too much money to be a backup offensive lineman, so we are going to be trading him away this offseason. With all that being said, I think we're in a great place at running back, receiver, and tight end, so probably not a ton of changes coming there. We will add some depth on the offensive line, and if we do end up trading away Daniel Barden, then we are going to have to figure out what we want to do at backup quarterback, but I think the offense is overall in a pretty good spot. The defense, on the other hand, it could use some changes this offseason. We were number 9 in points per game allowed, giving up 23.2 points per game, number 11 against the run, and number 25 against the pass. You consider who we have in our secondary, and I think this pass defense should be a lot better, and part of that problem was the pass rush. We were not very consistent off the edges this year, and that is something we are really going to look to change this offseason. Yannick Ngakoue, he was supposed to be the edge opposite of Arnold Ebiketie, and it just hasn't worked out. So we're going to be moving on from Yannick Ngakoue, probably moving on from Micah Hyde. Grover Stewart is going to be a free agent, and I don't really see us bringing him back. So expect to see quite a few changes on defense this offseason, adding a starting safety, edge rusher, and just some general depth across the board on defense. One thing I'm going to look to do this offseason is to make a big trade. Somehow the Chargers ended up going 1-16, and they have a lot of veterans on their team, so I'm sure they are looking to move on from at least one of these guys and looking to acquire some draft capital to try and make this team younger and better. Joey Bosa, he is one of those veterans. He is now 30 years old on the last year of his contract, so I don't know how much it would take to get him, but I am thinking about making a trade for him. And the other veteran that I'm considering making a trade for on this Chargers team is Derwin James. He is a year younger than Joey Bosa, and the problem with making a trade for Derwin James is that he is under contract for 3 more years, so I'm sure it would take a lot more to get him than it would for us to get Joey Bosa. The other thing to consider when making a trade is who is actually going to be hitting free agency, and it appears like there is going to be a lot better group of safeties hitting free agency than the group of edge rushers that's going to be hitting free agency. Budda Baker is going to be the top safety on the market. There is also Tyrann Mathieu. We are going to look to probably go after one of these two guys if we do not end up making a trade for Derwin James. I would prefer Budda Baker, but Tyrann Mathieu is somebody who is on a rival team, so it would be nice to steal him away. As for the edge rushers that are going to be hitting the market, there is only one guy I'm considering going after, and that's Trey Hendrickson. The problem with Hendrickson is that he's not really the greatest against the run. His block shedding is kind of bad, but I guess we could go after him if we don't want to make a trade for Joey Bosa. Let's move on and start talking about the draft. We obviously have not made any of the trades yet that I have talked about in today's episode, so we may end up with more or less draft picks depending on how the trades end up working out, but we're not going to worry about that right this second. For now, let's just start talking about the guys that are going to be available in this draft class. We'll start at quarterback, where there are 2 guys that I am interested in. First up is Lionel Chapman. He is out of USF. He ended up sticking around until his senior year and finally ended up earning the starting job there. He is 6'1", 211, 23 years old, a day 3 projected pick, has solid to good speed, maybe not the greatest arm, but decent accuracy short, and is a more mobile quarterback. I don't think he'd be a bad pick in the middle to late rounds. The other option is Northern Iowa quarterback Greg James. He ended up being voted the FCS Player of the Year, and he is 6 foot 215, also 23 years old and projected to go on day 3. He has poor to marginal throw power, which is very concerning, but he at least does have solid to good speed, good accuracy short, and is another guy I would consider taking on day 3, but probably no earlier than that. At running back, we already have a starter and have pretty good depth at that position, but it could be good to add an extra running back in the middle to late rounds, and Walter Slate, he looks like my favorite running back prospect in this draft. He reminds me a ton of Randy Hodges. When you look at his height, weight, and physical and skill set combo, it's pretty close to Randy Hodges was last year when he was coming out of the draft. So maybe we end up taking Walter Slate in the 4th round, but he probably ends up going in the 3rd round, so we probably won't have a chance to get him. Wendell Webb, he is the late round option that I would consider drafting. He is 6 foot 228 out of Georgia, has pretty good physicals, and the skill set besides the hands is at least workable for a late round running back, and he is projected to go undrafted, so maybe we don't even have to draft him. We don't need to add any starters on the offensive line, but we do need to add some depth, and you could argue it actually may be our biggest need on offense this offseason. So in the draft, Earl McDonald, he looks like a good player, but not somebody I would want to take personally in the 1st round. He has a lot of holes in his game that he needs to work on, and maybe in the 2nd round I would take him, but it's just probably not going to happen. He's going to go in the 1st round, so we have to look elsewhere. And Darren Reynolds is a good late round option. He is projected to go undrafted, has B awareness, A impact block, A injury. He's got holes in his game, but looks like an overall solid late round option. We have a draft story here about Darren Rollins out of Oregon State. He ended up winning the award for being the best tackle in all of college football. Now, the problem with him is that he's projected to go inside the top 5, and if he wasn't projected to go inside the top 5, I would consider trading up for him, but trading up from 32 all the way into the top 5 is not going to happen, so we're not going to be doing that. J.D. Doris is another good-looking late round option. He is 6'4", 314, just 21 years old, a D3 projected pick, A awareness, B pass block finesse, B pass block power. He needs to work on his run block ratings, but as a day 3 projected pick, he looks like a very solid option. Another draft story, this one about left guard Peter Swinton, who is falling down draft boards due to medical concerns, which doesn't really concern me because he would be a backup player on our roster. He has very good physicals and the skill set looks really good besides that injury rating. It is an F, which, that's terrible, but we could work around that because he would be a backup for us. Andrew Kelly is the last offensive lineman that I want to talk about. He is a potential undrafted free agent. He's got solid to good strength, B awareness, has alright pass block ratings, needs to work on his run block ratings a little bit, but looks like another solid late round option. And overall, I think this draft does have some pretty good late round options on the offensive line. Moving on to the defense, where I see us spending the majority of our draft picks and spending the most of our time this offseason trying to work on. Sheldon Clay is an interesting defensive tackle who is not the best run stopper, but he could be an extremely good pass rusher. He is projected to go in the 1st or 2nd round though, and I think there are better players in the 1st and 2nd round that we could go after, or just wait on and draft somebody else and not have to spend as high of a pick. Andrew Lincoln, another option in the 2nd or 3rd round. He has looking like good awareness, good play rec. The finesse moves could be solid, but he could also be not a great pass rusher and just be kind of a mediocre across the board player. If you're looking for a run stopper on the inside, it's got to be Jacoby Davis. 394 pounds at defensive tackle. He's got B block shed, so pretty much a pure run stopper. That's what you expect though with somebody who is 394 pounds. He's not going to be rushing the quarterback too well, but that's okay. He would just be more of a role player on our team. When it comes to pass rushers in this draft class, there are only a couple of good options. Mike Hatcher is my favorite. He is 6'3", 257 out of Penn State, has good physicals, A awareness, A to B finesse move, B power move. The block shedding, I'm hoping that's a B, and he is somebody I really would like to draft. However, he's projected to go a bit before we're going to be picking. Travis Hartwell, another option for a pass rusher. He is more of a power rusher though than a finesse rusher. He's got A power moves, A play rec, A awareness, the block shedding. If it ends up being a B, he could be another great option to take for a pass rusher. Onto the off-ball linebackers in this draft, there are a couple of really good options, and actually my favorite one in this draft class is Tommy Barnes. He is 6'3", 233, 21 years old, out of Iowa, has very good physicals across the board, B block shed, A pursuit, A to B awareness, A to B play rec, A tackle, A impact block. Pretty much every rating you're looking at is good, besides maybe the coverage could be mediocre, I guess. Max Dockery, another good-looking option. He is also projected to go in the first or second round, has great to elite speed, A awareness, B block shed, B man, B play rec, so he's going to be a little bit better in coverage, but probably a little bit worse against the run. Artie Hankins is another option that I'm considering. I don't think he's the greatest, though. I mean, you look at the physicals, they're not the best. He does have good awareness and play rec, but the coverage is going to be kind of bad. He looks like a poor man's version of Tommy Barnes, so somebody that I really don't want to take, but he just is an option. On the cornerback, I believe cornerback is a sneaky need on this team because we saw what happened when we ended up losing Sean Murphy-Bunting last year for a game. Our defense, it fell apart. So we could use a cornerback in this draft, and Justin Durant. He is 6'3", 192, 21 years old, out of Auburn. He's got good to great speed. The only problem I have with him is the coverage. He's got good hands, the awareness could be good. As a cornerback, you have to be able to cover. It's the most important thing, and he can't really do that. So the cornerback I want in this draft class is Stephen Burns. 6'3", 196, 22 years old, good to great speed. You look at the skill set. B-man, does need to work on the zone, that is just a D. However, he has top 5 talent in the entire draft and is clearly my number 1 player on the draft board. Onto safety, where there are 2 players that are clearly above the rest in my opinion, and we'll take a look at them in a second. First, let's check out a draft story, this one for free safety Justin Bryant. He ended up winning the All-Star Game MVP, and he is somebody that I actually don't really like in this draft class. He's projected to go in the first round. He has good to great speed and great to elite strength. However, the awareness is bad, the man's mediocre, and the zone is bad. So what does he do well? Well, he moves around the field quick, and he hits hard, I guess, but that's about it. Marcus Campbell, he is one of the safeties that I am considering drafting. He's projected to go in the first or second round, has good physicals across the board, B awareness, B man, C zone though, so the zone coverage needs some work, but he at least has a good starting point with that man coverage and the awareness. And after those 2, it's kind of a big drop-off in my opinion at free safety. Lance Simpson, he's got the athleticism, but the coverage is terrible. D-man and D-zone. He hits hard and he's got okay awareness, but he needs a lot of work. He might have hidden dev, but he's going to need a lot of work. Damon Agnew is my favorite strong safety in this draft class. He's only 5'9", but he's got good to great speed, A awareness, B zone, needs to work on the man. He's clearly the type of player that you're going to be putting in a deep third zone or deep half zone for pretty much his entire time on the field, at least until he develops a little bit more in-man coverage. Deontay Brooks, to me, the best way that I can describe him is that I think he's a better linebacker than he is a safety. At safety, I think he is a jack of all trades, but at linebacker, I think he could be a very good coverage linebacker. At least he'd be good at something then, so maybe we take him and move him to linebacker, but not as a safety. I don't really like him. Ahmad Bullard, he is very similar to Justin Bryant. He's got the speed, the athleticism, but the coverage and awareness, they're not that great. So this draft class, in general, I think it has a couple of players that I like. Stephen Burns is clearly my favorite player in this entire draft class. He has top 5 talent. He is the number 5 cornerback on the big board, on the overall big board at least. So that means we may be able to wait on him. We may be able to get him in the second round. At least that's what I'm hoping. Right now, what I'm really thinking about doing is making a trade for Joey Bosa or Derwin James, which would involve our first round pick this year. And maybe we can get a second round pick in another trade to try and get Stephen Burns with that. But let me know your thoughts down below on the plan for the offseason. What should we do? What shouldn't we do? And yeah, thanks for watching this one. I will see you in the next one.